All right, we're right up at about 6. Good evening. I call to order the March 26, 2026 meeting of the Town of Berthoud Planning Commission. The published agenda has our items in sort of an unusual order, so I'm going to rearrange the agenda with leave of my fellow commissioners in attendance so that the Pledge of Allegiance is next, then the roll call, then the approval of the minutes, and after that we'll talk about the open commission vice chair position, and once done we'll go to the items for public hearing. So commissioners, do I have leave to rearrange the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay. So again, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance next, then the roll call, then review and hopefully the approval of the minutes, and then nomination and election of, or possible election of the Planning Commission Vice Chair, and then our land use items for the evening. Okay, with that, it's our tradition to say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of our meetings. Please stand. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, at this time, Ms. Manzo, would you please call the roll of the Berthoud Planning Commission?
Commissioner Pond,
Here.
Commissioner Hoffmans,
Here.
Commissioner Sigmund,
Here.
Commissioner Filio,
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here, thank you. Okay, Commissioners, let's now turn to the March 12th minutes in our packet for review. Are there any questions or changes? No? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 12th Berthoud Planning Commission meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sigmund. Do we have a second?
Yes, I second.
We have a second from Commissioner Pond. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays or abstentions? All right, great. All right, so next item on our agenda would be to talk about the vice chair position. At our March 12th meeting, Abigail Smith, who was a commissioner and our vice chair, did resign her position for family reasons. With that, then we would need to, at one point, elect a vice chair. What has been going on, what has been happening in my mind anyway, is that Nick is here, one of our sitting commissioners is not here, I should say. And do we want to go ahead and do that tonight, or do we want to wait until our April 9th meeting?
I nominate Nick.
You want to nominate him in abstention? I'm not sure. Well, I would. My suggestion would be that we do postpone it until the April 9th meeting,
Okay.
so that he can be here for that as well. Are you good with that?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, so then let's move on. Now on to our land use item for tonight. We have one land use item for public hearing tonight. It has 4 parts. So let me provide some procedural background before we dive into them. The members of the Planning Commission are volunteers, and like many of you in the audience, we are residents of Berthoud. Our duty is to review the materials provided to us, hear public testimony, hear from the applicant, and then discuss the matters before us as they comply with the land use code review procedures. In doing so, please know that the code and other regulatory prescriptions provide certain criteria for approval that we must consider. You will hear us use these criteria to determine the applicant's requests and whether or not they meet the code, what the code requires. Please know that the Planning Commission members see the information about the items for public hearing at the same time they're published for the public to review on the Berthoud Town website. We don't talk with the applicant or anyone, even each other, about the items until we are here at the scheduled meeting for that item. Prior to the scheduled meeting, we only talk to town staff about an item on the agenda if we have a procedural question, like what order we have to hear them in, for example. Town Development Department staff are in attendance tonight to provide a presentation of the land use applications, to lay out the code required criteria and parameters for approval, and to answer the commissioners' questions. Once staff has completed their presentation, The applicant will be permitted to provide information about their applications. After that presentation, the public hearing will be open. If you intend to speak during the public hearing tonight, please sign in on the sheet in front here. We gain insight from the information and viewpoints that the public provides during the public hearing. Your input is welcomed and appreciated. Please know that we want to make sure that everyone is heard, and for that reason, we ask that you not react verbally to anything that is said during staff or applicants' presentations, or to those from the public who testify. If you need to talk to someone or express yourself, please leave the room and talk in the entry room right outside here or outside of the building. We will maintain appropriate decorum in this room so that we can be fair to everyone involved. Please remember, public comment is not an interactive question and answer forum, but rather a time for you to state your comments on a particular item or issue. If you wish to speak tonight, I will recognize you. When you come to the lectern, please provide us with your name and spell any uncommon names so the record will accurately reflect your comments, and then provide your address. We ask that you keep your comments relevant to the matter being discussed, and we ask that you direct your comments to the members of the Planning Commission and not to the applicant or other speakers. You will have 3 minutes to speak. As stated, tonight we have one land use application to be heard that has 4 parts: a proposed neighborhood master plan application, an annexation application, a zoning map designation, and a minor subdivision application. All of these are for an area called Lewis Valley. To recap the process, staff will introduce the item, followed by a presentation, and then the applicant will make a presentation. After that, the public hearing will be open. And this will be when members of the audience are welcome to speak. Okay. To begin this part of our agenda tonight, Ann Johnson, Director of the Berthoud Community Development Department, will present the land use items on our agenda. For our audience, again, note we will hear the information for all 4 parts at the same time. And then the commission will consider separately each of the 4 applications and whether they meet the code's requirements and determine our recommendation for the town board. Note that each part is dependent on the one before it, such that if the commission recommends approval of the first one, which is the neighborhood master plan application, we would move to the next one, which is the annexation request, and so on. All right, with that, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I can assist to the commission on an unbiased mode, so I decided to recuse myself for the public hearing tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You're on.
All right. Chair Anderson and members of the Planning Commission, good evening. My name is Ann Johnson and I am the Community Development Director. So, Chair Anderson, you did explain this process well. I'd like to spend just a little time talking about the process before an application comes to you. We have lots of guests in the audience and they just might not be familiar with this process. So throughout tonight's discussion, we will be talking about 3 distinct categories of people that are involved in the development review process. The first is staff. Staff is inclusive of staff from the Community Development Department, engineering, operations, the attorneys, public works, etc. The town has professional staff who are specialized in their assignment areas. The second group of people are referral agencies. These are inclusive of Larimer County, the Fire Protection District, the School District, Excel Energy, Poudre Valley REA, CDOT, etc. These are agencies that may be impacted by the application. They also have input that as staff we need to have for a full and robust review. The third include the appointed planning commissioners and the elected town trustees. These bodies both review testimony provided by the applicant, the public, and staff to determine if an application meets the criteria necessary to consider approval. There are 4 stages of the land use permit. The first is the pre-application process. There's a lot that goes into developing an application. There are several meetings with staff. We have a pre-application meeting with the applicant, and then staff also prepares for that meeting so that we can provide valuable information that the applicant may need in order to submit a complete application. Then staff provides input during that process, and the applicant and the staff can go back several times. The applicant also may be reaching out to the school district, another referral agency, if there are questions, in order to address any preliminary concerns before the application is even submitted. Once all of that is taken care of, then we do have the application submittal. Our land use code specifies lots of different application materials. We review that the application is submitted correctly. We do a preliminary review of the application material, and oftentimes we'll find deficiencies, and we can provide that input to the applicant right away so that they don't waste 6 weeks waiting to receive that information at the end. We try to catch major deficiencies up front. Then the referral agencies have a review period, and then we bring that all back, and then staff synthesizes all of those referral comments and puts them into our staff report. The applicant, if they're not quite ready to go to a public hearing, the applicant has that opportunity then to address comments. And then once we are ready, the application is clean, it has all of the application comments have been addressed, then it comes to you all in a public hearing. And before we get to a public hearing, the property is posted with signage. It is published in the newspaper, and surrounding property owners within 500 feet per the Larimer County assessor, those individuals are notified and receive a postcard. We also post on the planning web page. We have an interactive map that anybody at any time can go on and take a look to see what kind of applications are being proposed in different areas of town. So then after the public meeting portion, then we have post-approval actions. Let's say that a condition of approval is placed on an application, or there are items that need to be completed before recording the documents. That happens. The applicant, per our code, has about 30 days following the final land use determination in order to bring Mylars and other documents for recording with Larimer County or Weld County Clerk and Recorder. Alrighty. So then the next item is tonight. So item 3 is this meeting. And then this slide further defines what happens tonight. And Chair Anderson, you went through this in detail. I'm not going to go through it in detail again. However, there are 4 distinct phases for tonight. The staff presentation, which is going to happen momentarily. Then the applicant will make a presentation. And then the public hearing process. And after staff makes a presentation, I'll bring up the register for those that want to speak. And then after the applicant makes their presentation, then you will open it for a formal public hearing. And after the last testimony is provided, then the public hearing portion is officially closed. And then there will be discussion and voting. So, quasi-judicial roles and decision-making. This slide is provided by CIRSA, who is the Colorado's insurance provider for municipalities. And the Town Board and Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, have specific roles. arriving at the meeting unbiased, don't make pre-hearing statements, not engaging in pre-hearing buzz, don't engage in ex parte communication, etc. I'm not going to continue reading on this list. However, these are items that Chair Anderson, you did discuss in opening the meeting tonight. Then decisions are made by providing due process for all. Staff provides the information to you, then the applicant provides their presentation, and then the public is afforded the opportunity to speak. The criteria and intent and the process outlined in the development code are also part of how decisions are made. And then your deliberation and discussion on the evidence is critical. You may learn some facts. Our attorney is here. There may be legal criteria that are applicable to the matter, and then you make a decision. So you all will formulate your decision based on connecting the evidence with the applicable criteria. All right, so we are here tonight to talk about an annexation, a neighborhood master plan, change of zone, and a minor subdivision. This is the very first stage. Everything at this point in time is pretty conceptual. The town of Berthoud does require a neighborhood master plan, which is almost like a concept plan or a sketch plan. There can be some changes going from that stage to preliminary plat, then to final plat. Not a lot of change, but again, this is very conceptual in nature. A lot of heavy engineering hasn't been done. I'm almost certain that there's some engineering that is done to be able to make the lot lines, know where utilities are going, the road alignment, all of that. So should this bundle of application materials be approved, then we go to preliminary plat. And at that time, 80% construction documents are due and are reviewed. And then if that is approved, then we move on to the final plat, and that's when 100% construction documents are finalized, the development agreement is made, and then if a site plan or a special use permit are required, then that would be that next phase. So we are at the very beginning. Alrighty, so let's talk about the site in specifics. This is an aerial view of the property to be considered for an annexation zoning to suburban residential and agriculture, a neighborhood master plan, and a minor subdivision. The project name is Lewis Valley. So we have on the, oh, you can't see on my screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, on the left of that smaller blue parcel, that is South Berthoud Parkway. On the right hand of the screen, to the right of the larger parcel, that is First Street. The squiggly line along the bottom, that is the Little Thompson River. The property to the north is Heritage Ridge. The property to the west is Trails at Creekview, and that will be a development as well. So these are the next couple slides will show you some photos of the area. This is on South Berthoud Parkway. It's looking east-southeast across the property, and you can see Dry Creek in the foreground. This is on South First, looking west-southwest. You can see the train tracks and the trestle in the foreground. And then this is on South First Street, looking west-northwest. Again, the train tracks, and then the Little Thompson River is in that bridge area underneath. So we have a comprehensive plan, and our comprehensive plan provides a vision of how the property could be used in the future when a property is not yet in town or not yet annexed. So this property, this is our 2021 future land use map. And the majority of the property you can see in yellow or was envisioned for higher density development. And then that small portion of the property to the immediate east of South Berthoud Parkway is in green, as is a lot of this particular property. And so that was a vision for all open space or sensitive lands. And the applicant can address that conformance during their presentation as well. And this map establishes a vision of what land uses could be appropriate as the town grows. Then through the comprehensive plan process, the town of Berthoud has envisioned these properties on the future land use map as being appropriate for suburban residential, open space, and agricultural land uses. While the comprehensive plan and the future land use map adopted by the town in 2021 are not legislative, and rather they are a vision document, the intent of suburban residential illustrated on the map has been adhered to with the application materials presented. This happens to be the future land use map, or the preferred land use map, from the 2024 2014 comprehensive plan. And as you can see, both sites were envisioned for suburban density residential at 3 to 8 units per acre at that time, both. So there was a slight shift between 2014 and 2021. Alrighty, so the density. Under the 2014 comprehensive plan, medium density residential was envisioned, and that is 2 to 8 dwelling units an acre, which in this case, on just the portion of the property that is being proposed for development, could yield 50 to 200 units. Now, the 2021 comprehensive plan did change that, and so the suburban residential proposed on 25 acres could yield 14 to 21 units an acre, resulting in 350 to 525 units under the current vision. The agricultural portion, which is 9.4 acres, would yield 9 units. And then the open space being proposed is 69 acres. So that 69 acres was removed from that calculation. Then what is being proposed is suburban residential on 25 acres with 105 to 145 units, more in alignment with the density that was envisioned in the 2014 comprehensive plan. The agricultural portion is on 9 acres and 4 units are proposed with a density of less than half a unit per acre. And again, the 69 acres were not included in these density calculations. And I had more than one person check my math. Alrighty, so this is an aerial of all of the residential development around this particular property. Harvest West is the parcel all the way to the west, right by 287, Highway 287, and that density is 2.3 units per acre. Moving a little bit to the east is Harvest North and South, 2.9 units per acre. The southern part of Legacy, even though, and the part of that has some conserved land, that was removed from this calculation, and that is proposed at 6 units an acre. Then we go to Rose Farm, that's at 2.8. Hillsdale is at 4.6. Heritage is at 3.2. And then over at River Trails is at 4.9. So then the 3 circles, again, these are not defined boundaries, it's just approximately where these are on the map. The portion that's on the west is 2.9 units per acre. The portion that will hug up to trails at Creekview is 3.6 units per acre. And then the portion that is just south of Heritage is 4.4 units per acre. So then taking a look at the flood hazard overlay from Larimer County, Area A is that darkest blue layer, and that is the floodway. We don't want any development in the floodway, and in fact, it would be very difficult to do any development in the floodway through FEMA, through Larimer County, or through the town. AE is the flood fringe. That is the lighter blue. And you can do some development, and the developer for this particular application has proposed building envelopes outside the floodplain. You can also engineer within that floodplain through a process called CLOMAR, which is a conditional letter of map revision, and then after the development occurs, a LOMAR, or an official letter of map revision, that goes through FEMA and the town's flood review process. Then the area that's cross-hatched in red is the 500-year floodplain, or Zone A. That's, again, the 100-year floodplain. The green cross-hatched area is the 500-year floodplain, and it has very limited restrictions on development. Alrighty, so taking a look at this proposal in relationship to our zoning map, or our future land use map. Again, we have parcel B. You see the areas that the town has envisioned for development are those areas on B that the applicant has proposed. The area on A was envisioned for open space. The applicant has proposed limited a cluster of residential development all on the west side, and staff found that to be compliant with the vision of the comprehensive plan. All right, our trails master plan, you can see the approximate location of parcel A and then parcel B. We have regional and neighborhood trails traversing the property, and the applicant has proposed following those master plan requirements. This is the 2021 Open Space Master Plan. And even on this master plan, you can see the properties are highlighted in yellow. So they were envisioned in the open space master plan as being compatible with residential development. And then we have the greenway corridors areas as well noted. And then this really is one of the most southern properties for the town to consider for development, because that river forms a natural boundary unless a developer is going to expend a lot of resources on bringing the utility south of the river. So this is one of the last properties. We could probably go another half mile, but really this is the end of our development area for South Berthoud. This is the neighborhood master plan that's being proposed. So up in the upper left-hand part of the slide, you can see the portion that is adjacent to South Berthoud Parkway, and more than half of that parcel is being conserved for non-development. And there is a gap between that and then the rest of the parcel. There's that leg that connects the two, and I tried to make them as good as possible with the real distance there, and I'm sure it's not 100% completely correct. Then you can also see the portion on the west side of the eastern parcel. Those lots will be accessed through the trails at Creekview. And then you will see the majority of the development is occurring along the northern property boundary and over to the east. You see the gold colored. There are 4 lots with building envelopes, and those are the agricultural lots. And then you see the mix of lots then, and it drops down, I believe it's 5th Street. Yes, drops down, and this will then connect through Heritage Ridge. So the next slide, this is the review criteria for a neighborhood master plan. This is in your packet of information. You also have your determination grid that's been provided to you from Bella. Thank you, Bella. And so this is part of the decision-making process when you deliberate. So I think it's good for the audience to see this is the Planning Commission and the Town Board of Trustees, what you look for when you're making your decision. This is in our land use code, and this is the legal reason to make a decision. Then we have the annexation review criteria. Then we'll go to zoning, and on zoning, just one of these 5 need to be met. And then this is for your convenience when you get ready to have your deliberation. We can pull this slide up for annexation, neighborhood master plan, and zoning. And then for minor subdivisions, the Planning Commission is the final say on minor subdivisions. So tonight, I know our attorney has a minor change to the proposed motion. And so when you get to that point, he can provide that information. However, the minor subdivision tonight in your packets and in your motion should be approved or disproved on the condition that if the annexation is approved by the Town Board of Trustees, will the minor subdivision go through? Because right now, it's not in the town of Berthoud. All right, with that, this concludes staff's presentation. Do you have any questions on process or anything you'd like to ask me? Maybe not about the application, because we want the applicant to talk and then we want the public to speak, and then you can ask me anything after there. But from a process standpoint, do you have any questions tonight?
So I'm sorry, go ahead. All right, Commissioner Phil.
Director Ann, when you talked about the 2014 planning map versus the 2021, can you give us context on why it changed from suburban to open space?
I can only guess, Commissioner Filio.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can only guess. And it could have been a realization that the Dry Creek corridor was important to the town for preservation, that at that time, it looks like only Hillsdale was present. And then after 2014, that's when the Rose Farm and Heritage Ridge came on board. And maybe between that 7-year gap of planning, staff and planning commission at that time may have refined the vision a little bit more, again realizing the importance of preserving the Dry Creek corridor, and then of course preserving the Little Thompson corridor. So that's an assumption. Yeah, that's the best I can give you.
That's a fair assumption. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So just want to make sure that we understand procedure here. We will start with the neighborhood master plan. Once we've had the public hearing, the applicant spoke, we've had the public hearing, we will start our deliberations discussing the neighborhood master plan and that criteria. Then we go to annexation. If we recommend approval of the neighborhood master plan, then we would go to annexation. If we would recommend approval of that, then we'd get into the zoning change. And if we recommended approval of that, then we'd get to the minor subdivision.
That is correct, Chair Anderson. And the reason why we discuss this with the attorneys is most of the hearty discussion will be on the neighborhood master plan. And so they advised us to have you discuss the neighborhood master plan first. And then if you approve or deny the neighborhood master plan, then the other 3 decisions should be relatively smooth or quick to make, because the majority of the discussion has been spent on the neighborhood master plan.
Any other questions of staff at this time?
I guess just to clarify, even if we recommend denial of the master plan, we still have to have a motion on all the other 3. There's an individual motion regardless of a single one being approved or denied.
That is correct. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff at this point? No? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now Alex Hoyme, who is the applicant, is going to come up and provide a presentation. All right.
Please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Alex Hoyme. I live at 2033 Cuda Court in Berthoud. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing us here tonight. I appreciate all the time that you all put in to these meetings on a way more than a per meeting basis. I know how much personal time you put into this, so greatly appreciate that. Based on how the approval order got rearranged, you'll notice that my presentation is a bit out of order in that regard. And so my apologies for that. And I would like to kind of jump down to a later slide. I was going through, I was running through my slides in the hours before I came here, and it became apparent that I have a slide out of order, and I want to kind of set the stage, if you will, with the history of the, you're getting a sneak peek here. History of the property. And so this is a very special property, and we see the significance of what we are given the honor to work with. Lewis Valley, the name of the project is a tribute to Lewis Cross. I don't know if all of you recall the history of Berthoud, but Lewis Cross was one of the first founders of Berthoud. He homesteaded on this property back in 1872 and established the first region, or the region's first post office, called the Little Thompson Post Office, which actually the town was originally going to be called Little Thompson. That structure still stands as a residence next to the river on this property. There's no historical designation on the structure, but we intend to preserve that. And that's a reason for the agricultural lots that we have proposed here. That and other preservation of those areas that have been pasture land and farmland over the decades. And so this Lewis Valley land, another fun history aspect is the area where the town first started. And so before everything to the north of this was developed, this was the original town location. The issue came about in that the trains that would stop in the town, they'd stop at the bottom of the hill, load up, and then try to take off and go up the hill, and that wasn't working. And so the town decided, or the townspeople decided to take the town, move it 1.6 miles to the north, at where it kind of grew from there. And then another very cool aspect of this is that this property, or these two properties, have been owned by descendants of the Lewis Cross family since 1872. We take great pride in that these two groups of the family came to us. We were not out searching for this property. These two landowners came to us, and we had worked with them through some irrigation coordination on our harvest project, which is just to the west. And they came to us. They respected what we did at harvest. They had a positive experience as we coordinated through the irrigation issues, and they asked us to be the caretakers, or kind of seeing their property through. They had wanted to move on from the property, and knew that it was going to see development in the future, and they sought us out for that. So just kind of letting you know the history that brought us to this point. And also on a timeline of that, I originally met with these family members back in 2019 when we were originally coordinating on the harvest project, and then 2 years ago is when they approached us, or initially the owner of the 84 acres on the east approached us, asking to work with us on that property, and then the adjacent 20-acre piece that was owned by a cousin of theirs became a part of the project as well, after requests from those landowners. All right. Sorry for that jumping out of order, but I thought that was a valuable piece of information to kind of understand where this all comes from. And so we have the our logo pays tribute to that old town as well as the tagline "Where Stories Began." This is literally where the story of Berthoud began. All right, so as Ann pointed out, I won't run through a lot of the same numbers and requirements that Ann already covered, but this is what we are seeking approval on. As I mentioned, not necessarily in this order anymore, but this is what's being presented tonight. And so starting with the annexation, we are contiguous with the town boundaries. Another kind of fun aspect of this project is it's somewhat like the missing puzzle piece that you can't find. We've got annexations that are kind of surrounding this property, and it's kind of the missing puzzle piece to make all those connections. And so you'll see through the slides how we're making those connections, whether it be trails or utilities or street corridors. And kind of capping off the other adjacent property developments that have come along. So it is located in Berthoud's GMA, well within those boundaries, has adequate utility services, like I had mentioned, minimized impacts to the adjacent land uses, and consistent with the general intent of the comprehensive plan and future land use map. As Ann went through, there are some things that we will discuss, and we've worked extensively with the town staff on what their vision is and how it aligns with the different visions of our local builders to get something that is a special final puzzle piece here. Excuse me. And so here's our annexation map. Essentially, it's the boundaries of the project. And then also extends across the former County Road 15A. Back before the flood, there was a bridge on the far east side of this property that allowed County Road 15A to pass through. During the flood, that bridge was washed out. The bridge abutments are still there, but the county road was cut off, and we have no intention to continue that, but just relaying that aspect. And so the county is also having us annex that right away as well. All right, here's zoning and zoning rationale and compatibility. So it's currently zoned RR2 with Larimer County, which allows various residential and agricultural uses and further subdivision. But we are annexing it into the town, hopefully, and converting it to suburban residential and agricultural. Lewis Valley East and Central align very well with the 2021 future land use map. This is compatible with the surrounding zoning and land uses, and integrated with the existing subdivisions, Heritage Ridge, Trails at Creekview, and Legacy Park. We also connect to some of the infrastructure that we installed when developing Harvest. And then Lewis Valley West, which is the 6 westerly acres of that far west parcel, is completely outside of the floodplain and not deemed environmentally sensitive by studies performed through a local ecologist. All right, so still on the zoning, the future land use map had 31 acres of this overall property designated as suburban residential area. And then 73 acres was designated as an open space or environmentally sensitive area. Our proposed zoning has just 26 acres of that suburban residential zone and 78 acres of the agricultural zone. The residential buildable area within that agricultural zone is around 1.5 acres, so shown as under 2 acres here, resulting in 76 acres preserved for open space amenities, greenway, and the floodplain. And so as these numbers show, we are developing less than what the future land use map had proposed, as well as keeping the entire developed area outside of not only the floodway, but the flood fringe. All right, and so moving on. Here is the zoning map. You can see the different areas And yes, the majority of this project is zoned agricultural, which encompasses all the greenway dedication, as well as about 9.4 acres of agricultural lots that'll be on the east side to preserve the existing improvements that have been in place since the late 1800s. So on to the neighborhood master plan. This is the initial motion that you will be visiting. So as you can see, we have 65% of our project. We've worked with the town through use of Great Outdoors Colorado grants, town acquisition, and additional dedication from the developer, us, to the town. Had we developed this without further, the amount of dedication of open space that we would have had to do would have been 4 acres. We have added another 12 acres to provide this large greenway that the town, that will play into the town's future use with the trail corridor going all the way from I-25 to 287. And then we have our 36.4 acres of development area, or residential lots, I should say. There's 109 total lots proposed in this layout here. 64 of them are single-family detached that have front-loaded garages. 31 of the lots are single-family detached that are loaded from the alley. 4 of them are considered small lots, which is a lot of under 3,500 square feet, as encouraged by the town for some more affordable options. And then we have 4 single-family detached agricultural lots. These aren't an actually designated lot as part of the town's list of lot types, but we see it as a significant difference from the rest, and so we have split it off, but it does not carry a minimum or maximum as far as how much that can be a part of a project. One other item that has come about towards the end of the review process is we had a local developer that had interest in doing some multifamily along the north perimeter of this project, and so we have included that, and it's well within the density allowance that's a part of the suburban residential zone, and that would bring us up to 150 maximum dwelling units. I will relay that there's a very high chance that we will be moving forward with the lots as they're shown on the layout in front of you. The lot sizes vary from 0.08 acres, which is the small lot acreage, to 3.9 acres, which is one of the 4 ag lots on the east. That gives us a gross density of 2.99 dwelling units per acre and a net density of 3.87 dwelling units per acre. And Anne was kind enough to break it down kind of per each area. And as she showed on her presentation, we're well within the requirements of the town in their zoning designations, as well as right in line with the surrounding communities. All right, so subdivision compliance. For our 109 residential lots, we were required to have the 4 housing types as we had proposed. And then the alternate would be that 150 dwelling unit, which would add another multifamily component to the housing types. Open space of approximately 4 times the town requirement is being dedicated to add to the town greenway. Pocket park elements to meet the town code requirements will be incorporated into the greenway to serve as access and trailheads for the different amenities that either we are proposing with the trails or more extensive trails that the town would proceed with based on future plans for that I-25 to 287 Little Thompson corridor plan. As I mentioned, we've connected a lot of trails from Trails at Creekview to Heritage Ridge to Legacy Park, Hillsdale, and Rose Farm. There's another element of where this puzzle piece is allowing this connection to come across from the developments that have happened to the south and west, and bring those further into town. And then as far as the drainage approach goes, that'll be something that gets further evaluated as we move into the prelim and final platting. My main background is a civil engineer, so I'd love to talk about this part for an hour, but I'm sure you all don't want to hear that. And here we have a list and how we meet the code listed there on the different housing types that we are proposing. Traffic and access considerations. So our traffic is dispersed over 3 different access points. The majority of it will be through 5th Street, which if you've ever been down 5th Street, you probably were wondering, where is this taking me? This is such a large corridor. So that was designed as a minor collector. And from what we can gather, one original intent was to take that minor collector and bring it all the way to County Road 4E, which would be, a connection out to 287. Through collaboration with the planning staff and our town administrator and our town engineer, it was decided that the town is not interested in further disturbing the river corridor with that road crossing. And so we, in the first submittal that we made, we showed how that would be possible and the right-of-way that would need to be dedicated for that. But as we had those further discussions, we pulled that back, and that really did a significant amount to remove those improvements from the wildlife corridor and riparian area. And so, as I mentioned, with the utilities that have all been stubbed to these different locations, there's minimal impacts expected with the continuation of the existing subdivisions. And then Berthoud Parkway and other related traffic improvements on a regional basis have been included in the annexation, and will be also included in those development agreements as we move on to future applications. And here, just to address the irrigation, drainage, and stormwater, there is irrigation that essentially terminates at this property. That's the irrigation rights that we were working with the Wilson family on back in 2019. And so those are the handy ditch rights that we acquired with the property, and those will be transferred over to Berthoud for credits towards the water taps on this project. And yeah, there's stormwater is directed via different means, gutter inlets and piping towards ponds, where we would treat it for water quality and other detention as deemed necessary. Oh, my screen changed, but this one didn't. Technical issues. Would there be? Oh, there it is. It was just taking a break. All right. So consistent architecture and ample housing diversity. We've already talked about the different lot diversity. But with our housing types, it's given us a great opportunity to involve much of the network of our small local builders. And so with Harvest, we've grown a network of over a dozen builders that work with us on these projects. That group is more on the higher end custom group. And then we've brought in some other local builders that will be working with us more on this project. But no matter what the builder, we are going to have a consistent architecture approach, which in this case is a modern mountain architecture with some craftsman styling accents. And so this is the general theme that you'll see down in the the Lewis Valley area. I feel it's a great addition to the area. The kind of the darker tones are something that has been, very popular in Harvest, and so we're bringing that over to Lewis Valley, but mixing up the architecture a bit. Over there, we had more of a modern farmhouse with the high-peaked roofs. On this one, we're relieving the roof pitch requirement and bringing in more of the timbers and other natural elements. Come on. All right. And so, floodplain and the natural area considerations. I've got some other slides further down that will talk more about the ecology studies that we've been doing. But this shows a variety of setbacks that we are closely paying attention to in the layout and design of the project. As I mentioned earlier, we are completely outside of the flood fringe. The kind of medium blue color there shows an offset of the floodway and wildlife or the riparian area. And so there's a 150-foot setback from either of those elements. And then the Colorado Parks and Wildlife have a 300-foot setback from the Little Thompson River, which, with the exception of our ag lots, which is where our existing improvements of the home built in the 1870s, and then also another element that is of historic value is the livery for the town, is the existing barn that exists on the property. And so that one's seen a lot of history as well. Right, and so here's our pocket park and open space section. And so we, as with the greenway and open space, as I mentioned earlier, we have 35 acres that we've worked with the Great Outdoors Colorado with that easement and the town for laying that out. We have 17 acres of the greenway that was acquired directly by the town, and then we have 16.3 acres that was further dedicated by us. And as I mentioned earlier, 4 of that would have been required for the area that we have developed. So this will include a park with the required features that are in List A of Section B2 of this 30.2-109. We have a soft service trailhead with 7 parking spaces on the Lewis Valley East side. We also have a second soft surface trailhead with parking spaces on the Lewis Valley West side. This allows the public to come in and have a place to stop and jump on the trailhead or use the amenities that are along that greenway, both the ones that we are proposing and the ones that will come along in the future with the town's project. We also have enhanced natural areas and including public art in the greenway area, which we are working with Charlotte Zink, who's across the street over there, and has been great to work with on Harvest, and I had a couple meetings with her so far on Lewis Valley. All right, on to subdivision identity elements. We've chosen these 6 elements to adhere to this section 30-2-131. Those include entryway monuments, fencing, preservation of existing trees, alley-loaded streets, pollinator gardens, and artwork. Here's a map that shows all these connections that this property facilitates. And so you can see there's trails coming from trails at Creekview that will now have their connection able to be made to the Hillsdale Park area, both on the east end of Hillsdale Park and the west end of Hillsdale Park. There's connections that we're making from our Lewis Valley West area all the way up to Rose Farm and completing that missing link there. There's an adjacent property that will still provide a gap between Trails at Creekview, but there's also a Trails at Creekview connection that happens just by going through the Hillsdale Trail. And then on the far east side, you'll see a proposed future pathway for that trail that will continue on that little Thompson Corridor pathway. I mentioned the Great Outdoors Colorado easement. This shows 35 acres that is a concept presented to them on the area that they will be taking as a conservation easement through the grant that was offered to, or that was applied for and awarded to Berthoud. On to the ecological study. So I don't know if all of you are familiar, but we have an amazing consultant here in town. His name's Eric Berg. He's a certified wildlife biologist, certified professional wetland scientist, and a resident here in Berthoud, like I mentioned. And so we had him go out, and he's been out to the site multiple times now for various reasons, but these are some excerpts from his study. So there are no Colorado Parks and Wildlife high priority habitat areas mapped for this site. There would be no loss of wetland or riparian vegetation. Project construction would not result in habitat changes or habitat losses to important riparian wetland habitat areas along Dry Creek or the Little Thompson River. The wildlife corridors along Dry Creek and the Little Thompson River would remain intact after project construction as part of the large open space greenway areas. The project was designed to protect these wildlife corridors. The project is not expected to impact any federal listed or special status wildlife or plant life or plant species. And then also as part of the research on the ecology, we did a burrowing owl survey where they completed 3 separate surveys and found no evidence of the burrowing owl activity. I won't read through all these, but these are a list of mitigation and enhancement measures that we will go through as we would move into construction in these areas. This is the historical significance I went through. Hopefully that was well placed, better placed more at the beginning to have you understand all that has gone into this property over the past 150 years. All right, public facilities and community benefits. The top one is a big one, and one that we're very proud of. We've done all our projects without a metro district. This provides significant benefits to the end user. Basically, the benefit to us is that we have more buyers that are interested in these non-metro district lots and houses. They can, depending on the mill levy on various metro districts, these homeowners will be able to save, 50% of what others in a metro district would be paying. The HOA will manage the amenities as well as the architecture. I have been involved in every single architectural review of the Harvest project, and I guess it's fun. But I will continue to stay involved in these projects and make sure we have a consistent architecture as we develop these out. One other great aspect that we've incorporated at Harvest are these flock safety cameras, and we've worked with the Larimer County Sheriff to install and monitor those, and that has resulted in several findings of different crimes that have occurred both on construction sites and on the residences themselves. Our impact on the school enrollment is approximated at 46 students, which comes directly from the school district in our coordination with them on the housing that we are providing. And also, I live in town, as I mentioned early on. I live on Couta Court. That was the first project that I developed in Berthoud. It's a great community. I exchanged 5 acres of a field for 12 amazing neighbors. But we also give back to the Berthoud Bash, Berthoud Schools Fund, Habitat for Humanity. I'm actually on the board of that, and we're working on some cool things. Give back to Berthoud sports teams, Historical Society, which my realtor is heavily involved in. Also Turner Middle School, Berthoud L, do presentations there periodically with different groups of kids. So, oh, I should turn that down. Sorry, Dad. And so tonight we're respectfully requesting approval of neighborhood master plan first, then annexation, rezoning, and our minor subdivision. And I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too long.
Thank you, Mr. Horn.
Yep.
Commissioners, questions of the applicant at this point? Questions? No?
Yeah.
Not yet? Okay. Let me ask you a question that I have.
Sure.
You mentioned a potential multifamily situation where you're working with another builder
Mhm.
on that. And you said it's probably not likely that that's going to happen, or it is likely that's going to happen?
It's less likely that will happen. It is a possibility, but we have a Northern Colorado builder that is interested in those lots as they sit, and it looks like that will move forward.
If it did happen, I guess we'd have to look at the map again, but where would that, in that map, where would that happen?
Yeah, it was so. Pasture Drive is the road that it's on the Lewis Valley East portion. Let me get back to one of the maps here. And so on the east portion on the right side of the map, Pasture Drive is that long drive that ends in a cul-de-sac on the east and a trailhead on the west. The lots to the north of that would be the multifamily that had been proposed, but as I mentioned, the highest likelihood is the lots will be developed as shown there.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. You had mentioned traffic in that area, the increased traffic. Can you summarize for us a little bit what your preliminary traffic studies have shown? So,
I guess the total count was that 1,000 dispersed over the three access points. I unfortunately am not able to relay all the specific traffic elements to that, but the level of service is not highly impacted by each of these pods, just because they're so dispersed amongst the different areas, as well as the fact that Fifth Street is a minor collector that stubs into our property, and so that corridor is extremely well served for this for the largest portion of that development, and so there's a minimal to no loss in level of service on these surrounding intersections.
I think we realized that if you did get to preliminary plat stage, you would be providing a much more detailed traffic study.
And we have a full traffic study in the packet. I just don't have it memorized. So sorry about that.
Mr.
Yeah, I had a question about the zoning and the like the intent of the comprehensive plan. So first question is like, why zone suburban like so far towards the river? Why not like keep it closer to the development in that area? It's like suburban's like here, but the development's like right here. Why rezone all the way to the river?
I guess the zoning is well outside of those setbacks to the natural areas and the river, and the zoning falls far back from. I mean, the zoning is pulled, or for that suburban residential is pulled as far back as we can of those areas from the river.
Okay, and there's like no like future plans for this. I guess I'm getting at is like that little hill is like mostly prairie dogs, open plains area. But like when you go out onto the trails and everything, great views. Like how are you gonna mitigate the impact on like the quality of those trails?
Sure. Let's see. So here's the trail network. The hill. I don't know if I can point on. Nope, no cursor. But the hill is. So you see the trailhead on that western cluster of lots, the trailhead that's on the east side. If you like basically right where that trail comes from Trails at Creekview, that is that hill where all the kids trespass to go sledding down the hill. And so that would open that area up. So these lots are far enough south to be out of the flood fringe and floodway, and then far enough pushed to the west to be below that hill, and so that hill will essentially block the view of much of the residential homes on that western cluster.
And then another question about that zoning as well. So, like as these get built, I know a lot of people traverse, bike, run on those roads. Has there been like consideration on how to like mitigate any risk for people being on those roads? I know there's like a trail that's going to be built on the east side of that road of Berthoud Parkway.
Which
of Berthoud Parkway. the
Yeah,
east
so on Berthoud Parkway, there is a separate trail, if you'll see in the red there. We are extending that trail up to the end of the trail on Rose Farm. And so there will be a trail off the road along that frontage.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring these up because, it's changed from suburban to open space, and I just want to make sure that we're preserving that.
Sure.
Just ask kind of a follow-up to that. Has there
Yeah.
been any discussion at this point with Rose Farm or the folks that are developing the trails at Creekview about trail connectivity?
We have reached out to Trails at Creekview and offered kind of these locations of where these connections can be made. I anticipate they will be taking that or somewhat similar connection paths. They do differ from what Trails at Creekview was proposing, as they we'll say felt they had a better path forward with one of the landowners versus the other. But this gives them essentially ultimate flexibility on what they feel is the best path to connect their trails. And then up to the Rose Farm, their trails they're more towards the core of town, and so we have not coordinated that trail connection, but it is a very natural location for that trail to connect because it's right along Berthoud Parkway where they ended their wider trail there. So,
Any other questions?
I guess, did you come with sorry, I'm sick.
no,
Trying
I
to.
appreciate you wearing a mask then.
Did you come with a plan that shows this optional layout? Because it seems like you want to preserve the right to it, but we haven't seen it. And
Sure.
So I'd like to see what that layout looks like.
Right, and I unfortunately did not. We have that layout prepared, and we can present that at the town board, but I did not bring that today. But essentially, what that is there would be fourplexes with a road going up the middle to go into the garages. So there'd be a alley that would come off of Pasture Drive. It would serve the garages between those fourplexes, and then on the opposite side there would be a band of open space that the homes would front. And then that would be kind of alternated as you would go down that northern section of lots there.
How would that change the density per acre there?
Those fourplexes would be there would be 4 units across that 120 foot lot depth, and so that would allow for 40 additional roughly 40 additional units with what we have proposed here. And the 150 was it's not the exact amount that potential plan would lay out. It's just slightly higher than that. Mm-hmm.
When you did your environmental study of the land, because I know, kind of coming back to you, the open space and sensitive land, that was included when you looked at that area on the western side.
Yes.
It was originally in the comp plan, or I should say the 2021
Right.
comp plan
Right.
as open space or sensitive land, and there was no findings of.
Correct. Yeah, that was a large focus of the ecological study.
My last question at this point was, can you tell me more about the historic structures on the site and the plan? I know they're obviously in the agricultural parcels, but it's a little unclear from the application for me what's really intended with those.
Sure. Yeah, and what is proposed with those? So unfortunately, those structures were built in the floodplain, which I guess they didn't have codes back in 1872, or a floodplain. But the structures are in, I'd give them a C+ status as far as condition. They do require, if there's a loan on the property, they do require a very extensive floodplain insurance on them, and so that is a negative aspect to keeping them around. But just the feel of those buildings there, I'm not going to bring myself to touch them in any way. I think they're a very special, and we would be open to working with the town or historical society or any nonprofits if there were some sort of interest in acquiring that for some sort of facility, agriculture related facility or otherwise, to utilize those existing structures, because there is I think there's such a cool story to tell with what's down there. And one option that we have looked at with how the lots have been split up is if say somebody wants to purchase that farmland, but there's a drawback of the flood insurance. If they were to purchase 2 lots, build their house, which they would have their mortgage on one, and somehow be able to not have a loan on the second lot, that would alleviate that expensive flood insurance. But I don't.
Is currently the way you're proposing the plat, all of the historic structures are on the one parcel?
So all of the structures are. The other boundary is set by the corral that's out there, and so there's this corral that I don't know what the age is of it, but it's it sure looks like it could have been there in the 1800s. It was kind of rough sawn lumber and whatnot, but yeah, that the layout of those agricultural lots are to the extent of those agricultural improvements in place already.
And just to clarify, some are in floodplain and some are in flood fringe,
So
or they're all in floodplain?
there's some in the flood fringe, but those would be more of the bins. The barn is right at the edge of the floodway, and the house is at the edge of the floodway. So.
I do have 2 more questions.
Yep. Many as you want.
10 small lots, I think I see where those are.
Yeah.
And they're just south of the pasture drive, right?
Right. Yep.
And-
There you go.
So are those, I'm assuming those are single-family lots?
Correct.
Smaller single-family?
Yeah, single family detached
Okay.
lots.
And would they, when you say small lots, are those, what square footage are we talking about?
Like 3,500 square feet. They're roughly 30 foot wide by 105 foot deep, I think these ones are.
So how large would a home be there?
So with the 5 foot setbacks, that would be a 20 foot wide home. Very similar to what habitat type homes are as well.
That's what I was going to ask is, are those, were you thinking, and you mentioned affordable housing, but were you thinking those would be like areas that could be affordable housing?
Well, so I think we're working with wanting to have more attainable product. We're not going down any affordable housing paths at the present time. But yeah, the lots that are along the north and through the blue and orange there are a bit more attainable. But I mean, really the houses, the houses just to the north in Heritage Ridge there, for what they sold for 10 years ago, these lots are probably another 10 to 15 foot narrower, and these houses will sell at probably the same price as 10 years ago with the larger Heritage Ridge lots.
I'm also trying to remember the lot sizes of the homes that would be somewhat adjacent to Heritage Ridge. What's the average lot size there?
So actually, I'm glad you pointed that out. I did have a resident reach out with some concerns, and So there was concern on the housing density, saying that the adjacent homes that are on Kansas don't align with the homes on our northern perimeter there. And so the lot widths of those proposed lots on the north side of our Lewis Valley are 50 to 61 and a half foot wide, and the Heritage Ridge lots are 66 foot wide. The Heritage Ridge lots are 110 feet deep, and our lots are 120 feet deep. And so really the lot sizes don't vary by all that much. We're about 89% or as far as our lot size, it's about 89 to 90% of the adjacent lots. And then we have much larger lots. There's a lot of lots along that the greenway there that are closer in size to the harvest lots, so between like a 10,000 and 12,000 square foot lot.
I was gonna ask you next about those larger ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a variety of builders, both from Harvest and other connections that have shown interest here. And so we're not bringing in a national builder. We're going to continue our mentality of working with these local builders.
Similarly, the purple lots there, are they,
Yeah.
what size are those?
So those, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Mary's Farm. I feel those alley-loaded Mary's Farm lots, just in kind of the research that we've done, are some of the most popular when it comes to resale. And so we saw a great thing to offer in kind of replicating those exact lot sizes. And so if you're familiar with Mary's Farm, that's kind of the layout that these would have. The main difference is these will be HOA monitored, and they'll have a concrete alley as opposed to the gravel alley. And then similarly on the west side, so all the kind of bluish purple lots are laid out with that in mind. The ones on the west side are a little wider, I believe, but generally the same principle.
So in the lots in red that are over on the west side, those are 10,000 to 12,000?
Yep. Yeah, those are probably a little larger than what we have at Harvest South right now. So closer to that 12,000 square foot mark. And similar on Lewis Valley Central, I think those are around 11,000.
Commissioners, any other question of Mr. Hoym at this time? No?
Sorry, one more. Do you know what the density allows if you were to have it by your Larimer County zoning, your current zoning?
That's a great question, and I will study up for that one for town board. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Staff, do you know what that is?
Chair Anderson, Planning Manager Hillenbrand is quickly looking that up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Got a great team over there.
All right, while we're waiting, any other questions of Mr. Hoym?
I did fail, Madam Chair, if I may, or Chair Anderson, if I may. I did fail to recognize Luke Sieber, who is our Engineering Development Review Manager, and he is here. Have any questions?
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you, Luke. We appreciate you being here tonight. Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Hoym.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So Larimer County doesn't technically offer a standard or requirement for density. It's based upon minimum lot sizes. So in the RR2, which is Rural Residential Zone District, if it is on public water and sewer, the minimum lot size is 21,780 square feet. So roughly half an acre.
Okay. All right, with that then, unless we have any other questions of staff or Mr. Hoym at this time, then I would like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who didn't get to sign the sheet that wants to speak? I'd ask you then, please come up and sign that. We'll give you a second to do that before we open the public hearing. Just all a second to pause. Mr. Hebb, how are you? Anyone else? else? Thank you. All right. Don't see anyone, I don't see anybody else that's raised their hand that they want to sign this sheet. So with that then, I'm going to open the public hearing. Remember, when you come up to the lectern, please state your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, and we appreciate your comments. So, all right.
Certain second warning when they're almost up there.
Yes, we'll give you a little warning when you're getting close. So Stacy's our timer tonight. All right. At this point, I'm going to open the public hearing. And the first person on our list is Dave, and please forgive me if I don't say your name right. Is it Lilja?
You got it.
Ugh.
Gold star for you.
Oh, thank you. So please approach the lectern.
Would it be okay if I spoke from here, from this table? This will help me illustrate a couple of points I'd like to make.
Sure, as long as everyone can hear you. You know that.
I'm sorry, the mics won't pick you up from that location. So if you could step up to the lectern, and so you'll be picked up by the stream and by everyone in the room, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Can he take that mic and just stand there or no?
Oh, yeah. Everyone have that up?
Does it come out of there?
I'll just bring this. Yes.
One way to solve the problem.
I got my timer here. I'm going to need every bit of 3 minutes. My name is Dave Lilja. I live at 451 Kansas Avenue. I was a firefighter for 30 years in Denver, and the extent of my public speaking was with elementary school age kids regarding fire safety. So that being said, I will start my timer and I will begin my presentation. The developer painted a pretty picture. I'll give him that. However, I have had some correspondence with the developer, and there are some inconsistencies in his message. So when that property was used as a farm, they used to use a technique to water the crops called flood irrigation. Flood irrigation is a means by which they build furrows, trenches, and dikes and flood the entire flat plain. You know, we could illustrate that with a bottle of water and some Monopoly houses sitting on this table. That is how flat that land is. I'm no environmental engineer, but that whole bit of land is a floodplain. It is flat as a pancake. The developer did a neighborhood narrative, and here's what he said. The natural topography of the site, along with existing drainage patterns, will be preserved. Okay. Here's an email that I received from that same developer. The developed area that falls outside of the floodplain will also be raised above the existing grade, further minimizing risks associated with the floodway. So are the houses being built in a floodway or aren't they? In the first message, it says they're going to leave it natural, and in the second message, it says they're going to raise the elevation. I think that's contradictory. Let's talk about the easements. On the Heritage Ridge side, we have 36 feet between the walking path and the rear of the properties. On the Lewis Valley side, there'll be 3 to 5 feet. I asked the developer why, and he said because all the utilities are located on the Heritage Ridge side. They didn't need to have an easement. Well, there's other kinds of easements besides utility easements. There's conservation easements, and these are used for open space and scenic views. I think we can check both of those boxes. As far as density, along that walking path, Heritage Ridge has 16 homes. Lewis Valley is proposing 19 homes. So they tell you that the lot size is 10 feet deeper. Who cares? You're still cramming 19 homes in an area across the walking path that has 16.
30 seconds.
Okay. So this is about legacy. They're going to create a wall of houses along a path that thousands of people use per week to exercise and walk their dogs. So, commissioners, do you want to be remembered as the group that destroyed Berthoud's identity because of overbuilding, or do you want to be remembered as the planning commissioners who preserve Berthoud's identity through responsible growth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Our next listed speaker is Mike, yeah, I apologize, Kazmaier?
You got it. So,
Glad I'm not butchering names at this point.
as she said, my name's Mike Kazmaier.
Would you mind going back to the?
I'd be happy to, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Kazmaier.
So, can you have-
How do you get this thing up here?
As someone who's very short, I usually feel like I'm having to
Can you hear me?
down.
Good. My name's Mike Kazmaier. I live at 2014 Cuda Court. So Alex is my neighbor. And so really what I can say is the subdivision we moved into is really exceptional in a lot of different ways. Alex did a lot of stuff that, I didn't know at the time really benefited us, such as we don't have a metro tax, or whatever. And the other thing is he got us onto the Berthoud water and sewer, so we don't have to have our own wells, which I experienced in the past, which was really uncomfortable. And we also got to tap into the sewer system, which is, no drainage places, for our own waste. So he did stuff that really was so transparent that we really never knew about it till later. So I have to really give him, the character that he did stuff because he wanted to do something right, not because he was forced to. And I think that's a really big point. And the other thing is, people come to my house and they say, "You've really got a nice, subdivision." And it's like, we really do. It's the homes he put in were really well designed. They look similar, but they're not the, cookie cutter type. And it really floats in nights, which is, something he totally was in control of. So I think, whatever he does in the future, I think he would continue to do that, because it's not, let's build a house and get out of there. And also he made a point of noting he uses builders that are, smaller. Like the builder that I had, he did an exceptional job. The quality of that house is beyond anything, the cookie cutter type homes. And I'm not critiquing them, but there's a whole nother layer of what the home is like. So I think it was, his foresight, to see that, using small builders that do a really good job is really beneficial. And at the point, when I built, I didn't really realize that either. And now it's so evident that our house is so rock solid, type thing.
Seconds.
And that's a compliment to him, kind of thing. So, and then one thing, and I'm trying to keep it short, and it's my personal preference. I lived in Atlanta for 40 years, and what they did was, during the .com era, built these massive homes on these big lots, and all of a sudden it was like, there's no place for people that work in the area to actually live, because they couldn't afford a $2 million house. So I
You're
would
at
really,
3 minutes, Mr. Kazmaier.
What?
Thank you. You're at your 3 minutes.
that's it?
Yep.
Wow, that went quick. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next speaker listed is Ivan Diller.
Hello, my name is Ivan Diller. I live at 473 Kansas Avenue, so I just back right up to this property. I moved into Berthoud in 2021. I work from home. I am a director of finance and accounting, deep into healthcare, so I know nothing about any of this, or this process, or land surveys, or geographical stuff, or civil engineering. What I do know for a fact, just living there, again, of course, I'm going to be biased about this project, and I have only been in Berthoud for a few years, so of course you could probably blame me as being somebody who's ruining Berthoud and just moving in, so I'm not, I have not been here for 20, 30 years. But what I do know is the survey was done, and since I work from home, I saw when it was there. It was not super long, in my opinion, to see the full effect of the land and possible the animals, what have you to it. I don't think they went through a full year of seasons or change, or 2 years, let alone to see the rain. So we've had a super dry year, right? I would take that into consideration for when the survey was done. I do know also, if you're on that trail that backs, right along the farm, you're going to destroy the views. Doesn't matter. You put anything on it, the views are wrecked. That's fact. Just go look at it. Survey short, trails ruined for sure, at least the view. I do know the traffic is right there. I'm right on that intersection. There's enough cars going up and down 5th as it is. Again, because they have to go west on Kansas. So it's a constant thing. You're just adding more people to that. Kids are in school at Ivy. There's just a lot more people going into the school system. Although I do know Ivy is expanding, but still, you're talking hundreds of homes. Yeah. Oh, and I do know for a fact my sub pump runs all the time in the current spot it's in. I mean, it might be the hardest working appliance in my house. So even if I water the lawn too much, it goes. So
30 seconds remaining.
I would just say they're going to be even lower than me, and I don't know how you do that. So thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that, your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Jessica Weber.
My name is Jessica Weber. I live at 2026 Cuda Court, so I'm also a neighbor of Alex and of Mike. So to take Ivan's words, I too am one of the people who, quote, ruined Berthoud because I moved here in 2019. But I would challenge anybody who says that, people ruin Berthoud to take a drive through one of Mr. Hoymy's developments. Cuda Court is absolutely beautiful. It's very well designed, very well laid out, very thoughtful. Harvest, you could absolutely say the same. And from what I've seen of this new potential development, it actually improves greatly on that. I think a lot of what people think of when they say that, new people or development is ruining Berthoud. And I mean no disrespect to people who live in the types of places that I'm going to mention, but something like Prairie Star, where all of the houses look very similar, they're very close together, they're very cookie cutter is the word people use. That's not what this new development is going to look like. It's going to introduce options for people that are at that more attainable level that can't get into the luxury houses of Harvest, for example, but they're still going to be able to live in a beautiful development that has diversity and options. So I think it's actually a really good solution to the inevitable growth that Berthoud is, going to experience by having more diverse options and still a beautifully planned development. Other than that, I won't add much more to what my neighbor Mike said, but I very much enjoy living on Cuda Court. It's invaluable to live in a development where there's no metro tax. That also kind of increases the attainability of those homes because with the metro tax I couldn't afford to live where I live. So I think those are just all things to think about. I know that Alex very carefully designs his developments, and like I said, take a drive through, they're beautiful. Those are not the developments that are ruining Berthoud. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Sandy Johnson.
Hi, my name is Sandy Johnson, and I live at 2031 Cuda Court. And I don't want to reiterate everything that Jessica and Mike said, but what I'd like to point out with Alex as a developer, I think one of the most important thing is the owners of the property sought him out and his company out to do the development on their property. I can't think of anything that speaks higher of his ability of a developer and to do the right thing for the property that he's developing and handling. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your brevity. That was quick. Okay. Our next speaker is Christine Torres.
I'm short, so.
Okay. Late.
I'm Christine Torres and 739 William Way at the Harvest. So I proudly represent HT Land Development. I want to point out that the letters HT represents the two families that make up this entity. This is not a national out-of-state developer. That's a one and done. This is a Hoyme family that's lived in Berthoud for 18 years and are raising 2 teen boys that go to our schools. They've built 2 other subdivisions with great care. As mentioned before, the Metro tax in all of them will keep total cost of living down as well as improve the chance when voters go the next time Thompson School District asks for more revenue. They give back to local sports teams. Alex sits on the board of Habitat and greatly gives to many things, as he pointed out before. I have lived in Berthoud for 26 years. I sit on 3 nonprofit boards. I am president of the Berthoud Historical Society, so if you have questions about Lewis Valley, I'm happy to share anything about it as far as history goes. And then you'll find me on Friday nights running the video scoreboard for the Spartan football team. As far as what I want the folks to know is I too am going to have a subdivision behind me this fall. I live at the Harvest, and Harvest West is going to be built. So I understand the difficulty of what you're facing. My mountain views are going to be pretty much be gone too. But I want you to know that we deeply care about you guys, that we will do everything in our power to bring the historic value to light, that there's going to be variant homes from attainable to large acreage, and that we will continue to serve our town. I will be here for the next 10 years serving. So please know we care about you, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Okay, our last speaker is Jason Hepp.
Good evening. My name is Jason Hepp, 528 8th Street here in Berthoud. And I got to tell you, I'm pleasantly surprised. I actually felt compelled to show up tonight in support of this development because of the amount of thoughtful consideration that's been placed into it. I thought I might be the only person showing up to speak positively about the development. And I have been part of a lot of these types of meetings. And typically when something doesn't feel right, you see a large percentage of the population showing up to express real concern. And so thank you guys for coming tonight. And it's really nice to see that. I'm also feeling very grateful for the opportunity to be a resident in a community where we have a local developer who's willing to share the talents that they've been gifted in support of this community. Development business is not an easy business, and it's especially hard when you're building in your own community. And it says a lot about the developer and the projects they brought online, the thought and the care that they placed in the community. I'm grateful. I found myself tonight actually sitting in listening to this presentation and starting to dream a little bit. And what I was dreaming about is, wow, maybe I can build a new house there someday, right? I would like to live in part of the history of the town and the original location. But then I started to dream like maybe I could invite my parents to live here. And then finally I thought, you know what, my son, who's about to graduate college in a few years, maybe I can welcome him back to this community. Because what typically you don't see in these types of developments is diversity, right? We see a sea of tan or cookie cut, everything the same. We're trying to do things like to maximize density. You know, it's unconventional to think like, let's gift more open space than we're required. And so the thoughtful consideration, not just to preserve the heritage, but to infuse the diversity in the project that will allow us to invite holistically our family members so that we can continue to generationally make this community great is what I'm very excited about. So thank you to the applicant really for placing heart into this and to making sure that somebody in this community is fighting to keep the local presence and to use local talents to make sure that we preserve and protect what makes Berthoud special. And I'm really grateful for that because I wish we had more developers like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hip. Okay. Is there anyone else that just for any reason didn't sign up to speak or wants to speak?
I would like to, please.
Could you come up and sign this and then?
Of course.
All right, so, boy, I don't know if I can say that. Joe Schiraldi?
Bingo.
I'm doing okay tonight.
You're on a tear tonight. Yeah, as stated, my name is Joseph Schiraldi. I live at 1015 Longview Avenue. Schiraldi is how you spell that. It would seem to me the developer has done a lot of good work, and generally speaking, in terms of some of the developments we've seen here in this town, I think this is probably going to be one of the higher quality ones. There is one aspect that I do disagree with. I live right on Dry Creek in the heart of the western section there. I'm very familiar with the flood patterns that occur in the Dry Creek there. And although it may be areas there that are technically not in a floodplain, if our lay definition of that is that areas of that land could be underwater during a storm event, well, then there's a disconnect. A couple of years prior to 2013, the big flood that everyone knows about, surprisingly, Dry Creek did not really flood badly during that. It was a couple of years earlier when we had an actually localized thunderstorm that came through that lower drainage right there. And I was able to watch from my house how that Dry Creek turned into a 150-foot wide river in the span of about 2 to 3 hours. And so I would ask this commission to consider closely in that western section where those lots are and what kind of earth movement is going to happen there that would push that water further north or have to require more water to travel through there in a northern direction. I, for one, would feel very threatened by that in my house personally. And that's it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Schiraldi. Anyone else? Before I close the public hearing. Charles June?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, my name's Charles June. I live at 383 Mount Rainier Street, Heritage Ridge. So I appreciate everyone who's come to support the builder, first and foremost. But what I would like to say is this project is not, the builder is not in question here. It really isn't. What's in question is the density of the project itself and a few other things that actually affect us in Heritage Ridge. So I appreciate you guys have a wonderful neighborhood. I appreciate you have a wonderful, model that you've built great developments and neighborhoods. The problem is that this project itself affects us. So it affects our property. Like you mentioned, and I apologize, I'm kind of going off the cuff here. But you mentioned that it's going to be affordable housing, that it is going to cost the same that what we paid 10 years ago. So we've seen our property tax or our property values go up. And if those properties sell at prices 10 years ago, that brings our property values down. At the same time, like you mentioned, there's 19 houses that are going to be adjacent or across from 16 houses. So regardless of how you look at it, that's dense. So the density is there. So if the goal is to make sure that there is great houses that are affordable, but yet continue to build on those properties, why are we wanting to just cram those many houses in there? In addition, the properties that are close to the harvest, those aren't being crammed in there. Those are still at the 2.9 per acre, where the ones that are across from our subdivision is at 4.6. So why not keep it the same? Even if it remained the same as what ours is, which is a 3.6 based on the model, that would still keep our property values up. So why not change that to accommodate that? I mean, if that's really the truth, is to make sure that there's additional houses available to the town of Berthoud and bring more people in. Why not do that? So my recommendation, if you would take it, is, approve, if you do approve it, make it contingent on a few things, which is remain the same model as Harvest, meaning the 3.6 or less.
We're almost at 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. 3.6 or less. And also ensure that there aren't multifamily housing, because that too will drive down our property. So those are some things to consider.
You're right. You're at your 3 minutes.
Thank you,
sir. Okay. I will ask one more time. Anyone else want to speak this evening? Speak now or?
Question.
If you want to speak, you can, but you have to sign in. Thank you, sir.
My name is Brandon Jones. I live at 401 Kansas Avenue. I just had, are you approving the 109 homes or the 150 homes tonight? There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information on the 150. That's what I was curious about. I haven't seen a plot plan of it. If that was under consideration, we should be a little bit more information on that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
That was my
We will
question.
take your question under consideration. All right. Anyone else want to speak? One more time. Okay, great. If not, then I'm going to close the public hearing at this point. I would ask the applicant if he would like to come up and discuss any of the questions that he heard in the public testimony.
Yes, I would. Thank you all for letting us know what concerns are, and also appreciate all the positive feedback and comments. I'll just go from top to bottom, starting with Mr. Littleja. And familiar with that name, I grew up with some Littlejas from North Dakota, but not sure if you're from around there. But the historical drainage patterns, you mentioned that we were saying that we're holding historical drainage patterns, but then we're raising the grade. And I would relay that we can still get drainage patterns to the same location even with raising the grade. And raising the grade, even when we're outside of the flood fringe, there's still a benefit to get that raised. And as you mentioned, very flat out there. And so we raise the grade not only to give us a little further buffer from any potential floodwaters that would work our direction, but also it enhances the drainage of the subdivision itself, getting it higher at the far end and getting that flow away is the intention of adjusting that grade, but still maintaining the drainage pattern. You're right in that we don't have easements along the north side of the project. We've done our best to keep our easements, conservation easements, and greenway more towards the floodplain. That I understand where you're coming from and wanting to have more space from your backyard and from that trail, but really the trail corridor has been put in place, and so now we're looking to the next trail corridor and keeping that as open as we can. And as we've mentioned, we're working with the town and Great Outdoors Colorado and creating this amazing greenway. And then, as far as density equivalent, we have diversified our density, and this kind of this speaks to Mr. June's question as well on density. Really, these density amounts are very similar to Heritage Ridge and actually Hillsdale's denser. But then you've got Rose Farm that's a little less dense. And so as Anne pointed out really well on her slide, there's there is a mix of densities, but in reality, these are all very tight together. And one thing that does throw off our densities is that we the open space that we have dedicated to that town green space is not included in that gross area, and so that actually makes our densities look higher than what they really are, in how we've dedicated that. And so our dedication into the greenway removes that from the internal cluster of the homes. All right, so those are that one, and then Mr. Diller, I believe it was. We had the ecological survey done. Just to clarify, that's not a floodplain survey. The floodplain is done through the survey of the topography and deemed by the floodplain lines are deemed outside of what we're in control of. And just wanted to clarify that there's different things that we look at there. I am aware that there was a spring somewhere in that development, and so that may be contributing to your sump pump issues. We have done geotechnical testing and determined where that ground water level is, but I don't know exactly where your address is, but there may be a spring contributing to that.
They raised ours quite a bit, and the water table is not flooded.
Sure.
So it is. Can't even imagine.
Right. And then also to point out, I know we're developing much less in the floodplain than Heritage Ridge did. As Anne mentioned, there is a process a Clomer process you can go through to raise the ground outside of the flood fringe. That is a process that they did elect to go through. We are not electing to change that flood fringe or floodway, and so. Basically making sure we are building up as we get outside of that to create that additional buffer. Let's see what else. I didn't write down his name, but he had mentioned that there was a 150-foot path of floodwaters passing through Dry Creek, and I will say that is a very large area. We have. I guess that's not up anymore, but there's a large area there where I would say there's 300-400 foot of a path that is able to pass through that area, as the majority of the marshy and low-lying areas are on the north side of that creek, and you can see that's where a lot of the more wetland type habitat is. Property values, I can understand where the equivalent value that I was speaking to was misunderstood. There are lots within the Lewis Valley East property that will sell for about the Heritage Ridge price point from 10 years ago, but those are the smaller lots, not the lots that abut the trail corridor. I think I misspoke on a little bit of that, but the prices of the homes that abut that trail corridor will unfortunately be more in line or potentially above what those adjacent Heritage Ridge homes are. It was asked that we follow the model at Harvest. Harvest was done before some of the code requirements came into play with the housing diversity, which, given the circumstances of those codes, there would not be an opportunity to replicate exactly what Harvest is. We we were fortunate to slide under those guidelines in some ways, but in other ways, I love the opportunity and challenge to create these cool, diverse neighborhoods with the new rules in place. So I think that covers all the items. Is there anything that you all feel I missed?
Well, I think there was one asked at the very end, which is.
Oh, yes.
And
That's on
I'm
our
myself perplexed on whether you're really asking for
Right.
109 or 150. And if there's 150, I think it show us what that looks like.
Sure. So yes, we, as I mentioned, that is an interest that came in through kind of our final round of submittals. It was discussed with staff how best to add that as a alternate, and we have done that in these in this package. But open to any thoughts or comments you have on how to address that moving forward from this point.
So what is the number of homes?
So there's 109 shown on the plan that we have portrayed, but there's an asterisk on the single-family detached homes that are along that northern perimeter of the Lewis Valley East that designates that would be allowed to be multifamily and bring the density up to 150 lots on the overall development.
Just one kind of question that I would have then. You chose to put 19 lots on the side of the path that's just adjacent to the Heritage Ridge 16. Was there a specific reason for that? Did you want to vary kind of where the hot houses were?
The lot sizes are based on a builder that has interest in those specific lots, and so that is what drove the lot sizes there.
And a certain product or something that builder was?
Yes.
Any questions, commissioners, of Mr. Horma? He's at the lectern.
I guess I'm going to go back to this 109 versus 150.
Sure.
And you did a great job of describing on the north side of this. I can't follow on the plan where you're saying. So is it those 19 lots that would go away and turn into?
Yeah,
duplexes?
those two rows of lots on the north side would turn into like solid or one lot for each, but they would have a multifamily product within there, and so the fourplexes would. So if you can follow me, like adjacent to Fifth Street, there would be a fourplex that would front the street, and then on the other side of that, there would be an alley that accesses the garages, and then on the other side of that second row would be another open space which abuts the front of the other fourplexes that goes to the alley, and really that approach would open up, even though there would be a higher amount of units there, the openings of the open space and the alleys would create more view corridors from the lots on the north, if we're looking for a positive on that approach. But that and we can come with with further detail on that as we move forward, or you can tell me how you want that to evolve.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
All right, that takes us into our time for deliberations, and the first thing that we as a commission then need to look at is the neighborhood master plan. Could I ask staff to please put the criteria for that on the screen? Thank you, Ms. Manzo.
It'll be a little rapid fire here, sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to read each one of these so that we can talk about them and determine whether or not that what we've heard, the information that we have, allows us to say whether or not that particular item has met the criteria from the code, from the municipal code. Okay. Number 1, the land use mix within the project conforms to Berthoud's zoning district map and comprehensive plan preferred land use map and furthers the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. Anyone want to make a comment about that? Discuss that?
I am a bit split on this one, just because of like some of the zoning in 31-100 or 110, that land use when being rezoned essentially has to follow intent to the comprehensive plan and then the land use as well map, but it doesn't specify exactly during annexation or partial or full. So I'm hesitant on this, but I also, it is mostly falls in line with the land use map and with the general last 15 years as goals of that. So, yeah.
No, and I understand your concern there. That because the comprehensive plan has the western region as a kind of a different designation, that causes some hesitancy. And consider that was done again. It's a vision document.
It's non-legislative.
And so, to me, as long as there's not an issue, a reason that has to stay that way, then I am not as ambivalent about it. If there was a good reason for it that it had to stay in the way that the comprehensive plan designated, then I probably would feel a little bit more the way that you do. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I don't know. Commissioners Pond and Sigmund, how you feel about that?
I guess I'd say this. I mean, it was concerning to me as well. I think what I feel a little bit better about is twofold. One, I think that it is in the comprehensive plan, it's open space and sensitive land. And I think they've done a good job of looking at the environmental of what's out there and preserving what I think is essentially the sensitive land on that western section. So when I look at floodway, floodplain, environmental, all of the species, et cetera, that are out there, those aren't being negatively impacted. So as a whole, yes, that was in one big thing, but I think they've carved out the section that makes the most sense for development and preserved that I think was probably a huge part of the comprehensive plan designation on that because of that, the corridor along the water. So I feel comfortable because everything else as far as the map and the plan, and I think the goals of the plan is consistent.
I think it conforms with the map.
Yeah, I do appreciate the adding the open space down on the southern side, southern eastern side, and it is behind that prairie dog hill where all the kids go to sled. So it's not very impactful. And again, the zoning law doesn't have anything that's indicative of it has to be met in specific stipulations. So I'm okay with.
So do we have consensus that we think number 1 is met? Is that what I'm
Yes.
hearing? Okay. All right, then let's go to number 2. The neighborhood master plan represents a functional system of land use and is consistent with the rationale and criteria set forth in this chapter, the comprehensive plan, the parks, open space, and recreation port plan as amended.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I agree as well. All right, so we have consensus that it meets number 2. All right, and I would like to add to that I agree with what staff said in their analysis of that, and that for the record. Okay. Number 3, the preliminary traffic, open space, park utility, and pedestrian design is adequate and functional given the existing and planned capacities of each system and meets the standards found in this code.
Yeah, I mean, as always, I spent a lot of time in the traffic report, and maybe I'm the only geek that likes those. But you know, it's when you have a level of service, and I was gonna look at the village engineer and make sure I saw that right. But they, you know, they analyze every single intersection here. They're currently all A being the best you can get. And so what you look is if something comes online and it's going to increase traffic, does that change the function of those intersections? And it looked like we're at A, and after this we're at A, and that's almost I rarely see a development where you don't see some sort of impact, and it stayed. As far as the intersections and level of service, it's going to stay the same. Is that correct?
Testing. Okay. Yeah, the traffic impact study doesn't anticipate. I can't say if it anticipates the exact same level of service, but it does not substantially impact the surrounding areas, and there are no like infrastructure improvements additional to what's already there proposed with this project.
And if this gets to the next stage, which is preliminary plat, there will be a more detailed study, correct? I mean, that would be something that would happen at that phase.
I will say that the traffic study they submitted did anticipate or plan for 150 units, so it is the kind of conservative estimate of what could be in the 3 sections.
Okay. All right, so we have consensus that we believe that because of the information that we have, that we believe that number 3 is met.
And I love the amount of open space that's being dedicated,
Yes.
and the furthering of that goal for the community.
I liked that too, that extra amount of open space was donated. All right. Everyone feels comfortable with number 3? Okay.
Yes.
So we believe that number 3 is met. All right. Let's take a look at number 4. Negative impacts on adjacent land uses have been identified and satisfactorily mitigated.
I don't know if this is the right spot or on 4 or 5. I really struggle without a visual to see what's ultimately being proposed. So I don't know how anybody from the public can have an opinion on whether they're okay at 150 or how this impacts their house without being able to see it. And I understand the applicants saying there's going to create view corridors, but without being able to see those. And unfortunately, the area where that change would be is immediately adjacent to existing homes. So I think the impact is most concerning. I struggle with that. So I can't say I think this has been mitigated because I don't know what 150 looks like. I feel comfortable at the 109 personally. And I think that I understand the density differences, but 150, I don't see it.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I was thinking very much the same thing, that I really would have liked to have seen what that looks like and what some of the impacts, and kind of think through and talk about what some of those impacts could be. Now, we do have if we can put a condition on any type of, if we decide for approval, to that type of information be provided to the town board so they can make a more informed decision about that. We can add a condition saying we approve this only conditionally upon it only having the 109 units. I mean, we have some options with that. Unless our lawyer tells me something different. Nick, are we good with that?
So far,
Yeah. I mean, my personal opinion is I don't feel comfortable voting for anything above 109 because that's what I see, I know, and I can evaluate. I understand the traffic study was 150. I'm not worried about that kind of stuff. It doesn't change the environmental, but it does change the public's ability to look at the plans, be able to articulate to us any concerns. And so therefore, I don't know how we say they've mitigated on negative impacts on adjacent land uses when the area immediately, again, if these were going on a different side that was maybe not, if it was on the open space side where it's not really immediately adjacent to other land uses, it's open space as part of the development, I think it would be easier for me to kind of maybe leave it up to the board, but I struggle with that myself.
I have a similar consternation, but I think maybe, well, I think maybe there's some conditions we could put on this if we do decide to approve the neighborhood master plan, so that can be looked at, as it might move forward. So let me ask Commissioner Pond, how do you feel about that?
I feel similar, but I don't think number 4, it necessarily negatively impacts the adjacent land users. So I don't know what 150 looks like, but fourplexes there. I feel the same about not knowing what the numbers are, but I'm
No,
okay.
I agree. It just says they've been satisfactorily mitigated, but if we don't see it, how do you know it's been satisfactorily mitigated, right? It's not, that's where I'm, and if we can find a way to condition it, then I'm open to that. I love that suggestion, but for me, the lack of clarity is where I struggle, and so I can't say that on -4 that I think this has been met. It might be, but I don't know.
Commissioner Filio, how do you, what are your thoughts about
I mean, I agree. It's hard to, again, say if it's been mitigated or not without having like a presentation of it, and then also for everybody to see it. You know, that's also not a stipulation that we've ever put, I don't believe, on, you know, people coming for this kind of neighborhood master plan before. Am I correct in that assumption? We've never required the like minimum and maximum like presentations. Have we ever had a developer come in and bring both the, like, hey, this is the 109 and the 150?
Chair Anderson and commissioners, we've never had this type of flexibility presented. However, it's not outside the realm of what we could present. So if you would like to make a motion that the applicant provide further information illustrating what that could look like for the board meeting, you could do that.
So let us do this for a second. Let's skip number 4 for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go to 5 and come back. Okay. All right. So number 5, so we're going to skip number 4 for a moment. Let's go to number 5. There is a need or desirability within the community for the development, and the development will help achieve a balance of land use and/or housing types within Berthoud according to town goals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Pond believes that that one's been met.
I agree.
Commissioner Sigmund believes that's been met, and Commissioner Filio. I would say that the reasons I believe that is because we saw the different housing types. We know from many of us working on the housing diversity plan that, yes, some of those small lots are really needed here. When we know that and I appreciated what Mr. Hepp said about maybe having his son be able to come back from college and live here. And but as we all know from working on that housing diversity study, the 2 largest age or fastest growing age groups are 18 to 24 and 25 to 44 here in Berthoud. And we don't have a large housing inventory that would be able to satisfy them necessarily at their income levels. So I like the idea that type of housing is being contemplated here. It does tend to meet number 5 as far as having a balance of different housing.
And yeah, to add to that too, as like the commercial components grow on the periphery of Berthoud, having more affordable housing also helps to provide people who can be in the services industries and those sort of things. Helps Berthoud grow.
Our people that work in healthcare, our teachers, right? All of those people that we'd like to be able to have them be able to live and work here. So, all right.
I guess I would say I really like the layout. I like the way you've done the mix of housing, integrating them together, and they're not kind of separate. That they look like a cohesive development. I think that works really well.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us back to number 4. Are we willing to condition our approval of the neighborhood master plan because we're wavering somewhat on number 4 are we willing to say, yes, it meets it, but condition that on providing information about the 150 to the town board, or do you want to make that a different kind of condition?
If we have the ability, my personal opinion is I'd like to make it a different condition. I'm willing to make a motion and support the plans that were presented. But I'm not gonna vote for something I haven't seen.
Okay, so,
And I think it's unfair to the public and the public comment process to kind of have this go forward without us really being able to understand how that's gonna look and how it's gonna function. And I know the board can overturn that if they don't like that condition, and additional information could be provided at the board level that shows that 150, and they could, change that condition or recommendation.
let me throw out an idea here then. We could condition the approval on just what we saw in the 109, and that if something else is ultimately contemplated, that before the board sees this, that information is laid out before the board to review. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yep, so a motion could be made that conditions the approval on 109 lots
As we saw.
as what was in the packet.
It's in the packet.
And then if the applicant wants to then bring the layout of the potential 150, the applicant can present that to the town board of trustees and indicate, the application materials shows that range. He'd like to then present that range, it wasn't presented this evening, for that difference.
Yes.
So definitely ask the applicant if they're okay with that approach as well.
Mr. Hahn, would you please approach the lectern?
That approach sounds very sensible, and I'm sorry for the last minute complication that element added. But I appreciate the amount of time you all spent thinking through it. So that sounds very acceptable. Thank you.
Then, considering that's the type of motion that we all think may be appropriate, for now, then we would say, because of that, we would say that number 4 is met based on the plan we saw. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we all agree with that. All right. That then leads me to request that, and entertain a motion with regard to the neighborhood master plan, unless we have any other discussion about it. Okay.
Chair
So,
Anderson, I would just recommend maybe at the end of the suggested motion for approval, if you so choose to go that route, that it could just state at the end, after the word neighborhood master plan with 109 lots.
give you all a second to look at that,
Oh, I'm on the road, okay.
because everybody's kind of clear on what was just stated.
Then I'd like to move a recommendation to approve, a recommendation of approval to the Town Board of Trustees of the Lewis Valley Neighborhood Master Plan with 109 lots. Plan Commission's findings are based on the criteria of approval found in Section 30-6, 106G of the Municipal Code, as discussed in the staff report.
So Commissioner Sigmund made the motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Commissioner Pond seconds. Ms. Manzo, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigmund,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes. Okay, so the motion passes with our quorum. All right, then that leads us to the annexation. If we could please see the criteria for the annexation, Ms. Manzo. Okay, so I'm going to, like we did with the neighborhood master plan criteria, I'm going to read these one by one so we can discuss them as well. All right. First code criteria is annexation is a discretionary act, with the exception of a petition initiated by the town for the annexation of an enclave. The town board shall exercise its sole discretion in the annexation of territory to the town. All right, well, Yeah, we all acknowledge that one, correct? We acknowledge that
Yes.
statement? All right. Number 2, the land to be annexed and and the uses proposed for the land shall conform to the goals, policies, and strategies of the Town of Berthoud Comprehensive Plan and to the land uses depicted on the preferred land use map as amended. Furthermore, all annexation proceedings shall comply with the Colorado Municipal Annexation Act of 1965 as amended. Lots of discussion about that. We agree with the findings that
Yes, and just to make my statement, I know I had brought up concern about this, but after hearing the rest of the commissioners' perspectives of the intent of this development and this annexation and inevitably the zoning of it, I understand that yes, I believe that this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which is not legislative, but is an intent, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Filio. Commissioner Pond?
Yes.
Okay, so I would also ask for leave to be able to adopt to be able to adopt staff's findings with regard to that. So, all right, so we have consensus on number 2. All right, number 3, at the time development occurs, certain public facilities and amenities are necessary and must be constructed as a part of any territory annexed to and developed within the town in order that the public needs may be served by such facilities. These facilities include, but are not limited to, arterial streets, bridges, public parks and recreation areas, water and sanitary sewer facilities, school sites, fire and police station sites, and storm drainage facilities. Typically, the annexation of lands to the town shall be shown not to create any additional cost or burden on the then existing residents of the town to provide such facilities in any newly annexed area. I would say, I don't think what we have in our information, and the annexation intent letter, and the annexation findings suggest that one is met. Any other discussion about that? Anybody disagree?
I think the wording of "at the time development occurs" doesn't make sense to me, but I'm, for the most part, good with that. I mean, it's like saying we're in the future,
No, that's
this is
true.
going to
It's
happen.
kind of weird,
Yeah.
odd wording, I agree.
Yeah.
I guess I'd go to the last sentence, which is typically the annexation of lands to the town shall be shown not to create any additional costs or burden to the existing residents. I think in the application that we have before us, there's nothing that suggests that the town needs to do anything in order for this development to move forward, right? So the town's not having to build any new roadways or change any of the infrastructure or anything. So I believe that's been met.
And I think the infrastructure costs are mostly, then, it seems to me from what I read, would be borne by the applicant, so.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Are we okay?
I'm good with it.
Yes.
All right, so we have consensus on number 3. All right, number 4, typically the petitioner for annexation shall be responsible for paying application fees and the town's full cost for processing the annexation applications and petition. From initial discussion with town staff before submittal of the petition through the approval and recording of the final annexation documents. I think that unless staff will tell us otherwise, that's what's happened.
I think in the application, it says that's been met.
Yes, thank you. Y'all agree with number 4?
Yes.
All right, so they've met number 4. Number 5, annexed areas will not typically divide tracts of land to prevent further annexation of adjoining parcels. For example, leaving a gap or a strip of land between property to be annexed and the adjoining property.
I think this does the opposite. It actually completes a puzzle piece, as you
Yeah.
said, and there's kind of an odd cutout now that I think this makes the map much more cohesive for the town of Berthoud.
It reminded me of when I looked at his coloring the lines when I was a little kid with my Crayolas, right? All right, so do we all agree?
Yes.
All right, so we agree that number 5 has been met. Number 6, the property owner shall comply with the annexation application requirements of this chapter prior to submitting an annexation petition. And from what we've seen, what we've read from staff, I think that has happened. There has been that compliance.
Yes, and Chair Anderson, and in addition, a hearing, or not a hearing, memorandum was presented to the town trustees indicating that the petition was filed in conformance with the Colorado statutes regarding annexation petitions.
So then we all agree that that one has been met. Thanks for that information. Okay, so at this point then, unless we have further discussion about the annexation application, I would entertain a motion with regard to the annexation application.
I move to make a recommendation of approval of the Lewis Valley annexation to the Town Board of Trustees. Planning Commission's findings are based on the criteria for approval found in Section 30-8102 of the Municipal Code as discussed in the staff report. Property is within the town's 3-mile plan and urban growth boundary, and the process found in Municipal Code Section 30-8-104B.5.
Okay, so Commissioner Pond has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Commissioner Filio seconds. Ms. Monzo, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Sigmund,
Yes.
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes. Okay, so that motion passes. That then takes us to the zoning, to the zoning application, I should say rezoning application. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Director Johnson. Okay, so our criteria, we only have to find that one of the criteria is met here. So let's start with number 1. To correct a manifest error in an ordinance establishing the zoning for a specific property. Not really an error, right? So probably not that one. Number 2, to rezone an area or extend the boundary of an existing district because of changed or changing conditions in a particular area or in the town generally.
I'm iffy on that one, too.
Yeah, I'm a little dubious on that one too.
Yeah.
All right, then let's go to number 3. The land to be rezoned was zoned in error, and as presently zoned is inconsistent with the policies and goals of the town comprehensive plan. Not an error, right?
I'm struggling that these apply because these are relative to the zoning that's adopted, and this isn't adopted to the zoning in our
Right.
town.
I know.
So they're kind of inconsistent, right? We're saying we're changing our zoning, but it's not zoned yet. So we're
Yes.
not changing the zoning. We're actually creating a new zoning in conjunction with an annexation. So these are, we're struggling.
Kind of changing the zoning for this particular land because it was zoned by Larimer County, but you're right.
But it's not zoned in, it's not zoned in.
No, I
So,
get-
you know,
yeah.
there's no errors in ours.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, no, I get it. I know it's kind of odd language for this situation.
Yeah.
Number 4 then, the proposed zoning is necessary to provide land for community-related use that was not anticipated at the time of the adoption of the town comprehensive plan, and the rezoning will be consistent with the policies and goals of the comprehensive plan.
I think that's the winner.
Yes,
Think so?
I agree.
Yes, they provide land for a community-related use.
Well, I think that, you know, and I go to the not anticipated at the time of the code. So this is, and naturally, it is in the comprehensive plan, that keeping that green space corridor and a lot of that other is in the comprehensive. I think that's a community-related use.
I think it meets the criteria after the and. Just a little dubious about the criteria before the and. Proposed rezoning is necessary to provide land for community-related use. It was not anticipated at the time of the adoption of the comprehensive plan. You mind-
That seems more like, sorry, Chair Anderson, go ahead.
No, I
No,
see
go
what
ahead.
you're,
That seems more like when we're, like this was in the town comprehensive plan and like was a part of land use in 2011, 2014, and 2021. So that seems more like a comprehensive plan amendment for zoning more than like an, or the like comprehensive plan changed and then it was rezoning. I
Can I provide some legal?
Sure,
yes,
discussion?
please.
So, I'm not going to tell you if the criteria is satisfied or not. but you voted yes to annex this into the town. And by state law, you can't have annexed property that's not zoned. So if you're talking about necessity, that might be something to consider.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
can we skip number 4 for a moment and go to 5, then go back to 4 for a second? The area, number 5 says the area requested for rezoning has changed or is changing to such a degree that is in the public interest to encourage development or redevelopment of the area.
I think that could apply as well.
From what Nick just said, that makes me think number 5 more applies.
Well, I think he was using this word necessary. So once you annex it in, it's necessary to zone it. So the rezoning is necessary because otherwise, correct?
So all right. I get what you're talking about there. So do we think 5 applies or do we think 4 applies? What's the consensus here? I think 4 is more relevant.
Leaning towards the legal advice.
I'm on 4. Yes.
I'm on 4.
All right, with what Nick said, I'm more convinced, so I will agree with 4. So we don't really need to talk about 5, though, if we have consensus on 4, since we only need 1. All right. Then with that, unless there's other discussion about the zoning review and the zoning designation, I would entertain a motion with regard to the zoning.
I move to make a recommendation of approval to the Town Board of Trustees for the Lewis Valley zoning request to SR Suburban Residential and AG Agriculture in accordance with the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. Process for the approval found in Municipal Code Section 30-8-104.b.5. The criteria for approval found in Section 30-3-110.d of the Municipal Code as discussed in the staff report.
Okay, so Commissioner Filio has made the motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Commissioner Pond seconds the motion. Ms. Monzo, would you please call the roll again?
Commissioner Sigmund,
Yes.
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes, motion passes. With that, then, we move to the criteria for the minor subdivision review. So, let me read those. Do you need water? You good?
I may have another one.
Let's take a pause for just a second.
Sorry.
I don't want to lose a commissioner here. Then,
Lose quorum.
yeah.
I'll be okay.
My throat's getting dry after all this.
It's perfect. I just have a tickle now.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead and read the first criteria. Criteria A, the minor subdivision plat is in compliance with the land use code, the town comprehensive plan, the port plan, and any additional master plan or overlay districts affecting the property. Do we agree with that?
I do.
I do.
Yes, and I as well. I think staff gave a very convincing presentation about the land use code, the comprehensive plan. I know our materials talked about compliance with the open space plan and the fact that there wouldn't be really any overlay districts that would in this area. So, okay. Let's then go to B. The Planning Commission shall also consider how the applicant has addressed comments received from the public during the public comment portion of the process, as well as any referral agency comments made during the development review process when considering the request. Do we feel the applicant has addressed comments from the public satisfactorily during the public comment period? It's kind of the first part.
And Chair Anderson, if I may, the staff report does state that at the time of drafting of the report, there were no public comments provided. The moment after Ms. Manzo hit publish is when the public comments actually were emailed. So at the time that the report was published, there weren't. I just want the record to state that you all were provided with public comments in an amended packet. You also then received the comments handed out to you this evening.
We did.
So I just wanted to make it known that once we hit publish, it's published.
Thank you. And I would tell our audience that we definitely appreciate their comments and their concerns. So, and we appreciate our applicant addressing those. We're good with that part? What about referral agency comments? I think there weren't really a lot for us to look at
Yeah,
there.
no, I
They're-
think the staff report says they were all addressed.
Yeah,
correct?
they were all addressed. So do we have consensus that we agree with B?
Yes.
That we've considered
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay, so then we agree with that. All right. So unless we have other discussion about the minor subdivision review, I would entertain a motion in that regard.
I move to approve
Sorry.
the.
So sorry to interrupt
Go
at the
ahead.
very last second. So I had mentioned it to Director Johnson that I might
Oh,
change the motion.
okay.
I'm not
Oh, go
changing
ahead.
the motion. I
Okay.
did want to put something on the record. So in the resolution in your packet, Section 3, the provisions of this resolution shall take effect upon the annexation and the acts of recording as specified in Section 1 herein. Section 1 being filing with the Larimer County Clerk and Recorder. That all, I'm not changing anything. I'm just letting you guys know that that filing will occur at the effective date of the annexation. Annexations are unique, that there's a long way in between when you vote on them, when the town board votes on them, when they become. Just clarifying that, but not changing anything.
No, it's good to know. Thank you
It's
for
funny, I
that.
had attorney change and I couldn't remember
No,
what that
yeah,
meant.
and I changed my mind halfway through. You're good.
Okay, sorry. If you wanted to make a motion.
Okay.
Commissioner.
I move to approve the Lewis Valley minor subdivision based on the criteria for approval found in section 30-6-109 of the municipal code, along with findings in the attached staff report. This motion is conditioned upon the town board's approval of the annexation, neighborhood master plan, and zoning requests.
Commissioner Pond makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Filio seconds the motion. Ms. Monzo, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Pond,
Yes.
Commissioner Filio,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigmund,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes, the motion passes. Okay, so that ends the land use portion of our agenda tonight. Brings us to staff reports.
All right, Chair Anderson and members of the Planning Commission. So there were no community development items that you all have reviewed, presented at the last town trustees meeting. It was a very short agenda with a lot of discussion on Mountain View Park. And then on April 9th, there will be a work session for you all with our operations team. They're coming back to talk about kind of like an introduction to water. They have agreed to come back to do that. So that will be a work session with you all, and I will provide dinner. So again,
Wonderful.
I think I have some dietary restrictions from you all. Just confirm what you can and cannot have, and we'll probably get a box of sandwiches and have them here for you, a mix. And then on the 23rd of April, right now, we don't have any land use applications that are going on the 23rd. Something could happen in the next week or two that we would have a land use application. If not, then we don't have a need to have planning commission meet.
So it sounds like April 9th will be immersed in water, so to speak.
Yes, you will be immersed in water.
Will the town's water attorney be there for the April 9th meeting?
The water attorney will not. Alex Tennant, the water manager, will be there. Ken Matthews, the director of the operations department, is planning on being here, and then Tyler Carpenter, another team member, will also be present.
Okay.
So they, with Ken and Alex, they definitely have that legal background, and they can answer more questions.
Okay.
If you have questions in particular that you want to have information on, if you could forward them to me beforehand, then I can give them to them and they can come more prepared.
Okay.
Yep. So happy to do that.
Okay.
No, I like that idea. If we have questions, kind of sending them to you ahead of time for them, I think would be helpful.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements that we need to?
I don't think so. I think, Bella, do you want to give an update on the historic preservation plan?
Sure, absolutely. We've been working closely with our consultants, Chronicle Heritage, on getting towards the end of the historic preservation plan process. So we had a period of public comment open that was open during the month of, I believe, mid-February. It was open for several weeks. Our Historic Preservation Advisory Committee has looked at the penultimate draft, and now our consultant has presented the final draft that will go to the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee for a very, very truly last round of comments. And then that will be going before the Town Board of Trustees on May 12th for approval. And there will also be a proclamation during that meeting for Historic Preservation Month, because that is the month of May. And we're very excited to bring that forward and then also debut the new historic walking tour that's live that our GIS analyst Nathan Gabbard created. It is live on the website now, but we're excited to do a little bit more of a hard launch for that and announce that. So lots of exciting things happening in the world of historic preservation in Berthoud.
Great. All right, what do we know about art in public places? You knew I was going to ask. Ton's like,
as Bella was talking, I was thinking about it. So we did complete our second visioning session last Thursday, which Commissioner Filio had joined us, so thank you. It was very successful. We had a great turnout. So that was our group of local artists or individuals who are involved in the local art scene, if you will, as well as, of course, the commissioners, and then Trustee Hardy also joined us. So Nine Dot Arts has compiled the results of that and then our first visioning the week before. And she did provide that just this week. And so we'll take a look at that and see just the comparables. That will be fun. And we'll go ahead and probably post those to our public art master plan webpage that we have created. So that will be the first thing that we will be posting. So that's exciting. And then from that, Nine Dot Arts will be creating a vision and goal statement based upon the feedback and start to develop that, which will be, of course, a big component of our master plan. And then they're also then developing our first community-wide public art survey. So that will be the next big capture for public engagement.
Wonderful.
So that hopefully, and then likely, I'll have an update on that probably by the next time we see you all.
Sounds really exciting. Both things that are happening.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put Luke on the spot to tell us a little bit about the intersection program.
Sure. I guess you can probably hear me about that. Over the past 6 months or so, we've been working with a traffic consultant to generate a traffic model that kind of compiles all the traffic studies that we've been seeing in the past 5-ish years, and kind of picking all the main intersections around town and being able to model those and figure out their level of service independent of developers, and kind of see where existing issues are happening, like especially in areas maybe downtown or areas that have already been fully built out that are being affected by people, so we can kind of plan for capital projects for the town, and also see and show how the improvements that developers are putting forth kind of benefit the overall town's transportation infrastructure. So we should get a final model in April, and the final report kind of showing the existing and the future with and without improvements to the infrastructure. So I will probably be coming in sometime to show that to you guys.
So that will inform maybe some of the infrastructure improvements that we might need to road?
Potentially, a lot of those, most of those are developer driven, and we would prefer that developers be paying for the infrastructure rather than the town. So as much as possible, we would prefer developers kind of chip in. But I do think there is also like a capital improvement fee that comes with every development that goes into a fund that is used for capital projects like stormwater, sewer, infrastructure, and transportation could be one of those when it's needed.
It will be a wonderful model to inform the decisions, to validate what's being presented, and it's another tool then that Luke can use when collaborating with our Public Works Department and other departments on future improvements, and again, just validating.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is this going to be a dynamic model? So if a developer comes in and they say, okay, here's the trip generation that's anticipated, you'll be able to plug that into our model and not only necessarily just see the intersection or roadway things adjacent, but how maybe that more global impact on the community?
Yeah, that should be the way it works. It's kind of like you choose where things go. So the developer would provide their traffic study that deals with their intersections, and then depending on, say, how much traffic they show going off to an area, we can take those numbers and add it
Right.
to.
Yeah, I mean, we'd still be using their numbers, but we could plug that into our model then to see how it,
More holistic.
yeah, that's really cool.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and we'll show you more, and you'll be able to see kind of what they put together. It is pretty cool.
Yes, so a lot is happening in the community development department as well as other departments throughout the town that processing land use cases, of course, is bread and butter. It's what we need to do to work with the development community, ensure that the town is growing appropriately and in a smart way, in a sustainable way. However, the other items that are being done, the historic preservation master plan, the art master plan, this modeling, help enhance and help grow the community in a positive way. So we're really excited with the work that everybody's putting forth and all of that to bring to you more robust review as well. Woohoo to staff.
Woohoo to
I think
staff.
that's great.
I second that woohoo.
I think that's wonderful. I think now will any of this be AI driven so that you could add different variables to it at one point and see how that would change, or that's what it's making me think, but
I don't think this would be unless the program itself provides an update, which I assume we would have to get like a different license for. This is all fairly manually driven with some automatic calculations that would otherwise be very complicated to show how long a lane backs up or something, and how long traffic signals will interact, throughout town. So all that stuff's been getting modeled, like how traffic will flow through Mountain Avenue based on the green times and how they switch, and kind of same for any other traffic lights that have been proposed through developments.
I was just thinking if you had it in some type of app where you could add other variables just to see how certain things might change, it would be interesting. Because you never know what's going to happen next.
You
Right?
can certainly add variables. It's just kind of a manual process.
Okay.
If you want to add a lane, you can add a lane, but you'll have to kind of put the numbers that you think would turn a certain way.
Okay, so it wouldn't create those numbers for you or do that. Okay. That's what I was wondering if it.
Yeah, you would kind of plug in the trips, and it'll spit out
Okay.
the level of service and how long wait times are and stuff like that.
Does the town have an AI app that they use in various departments? It's
No.
kind of town specific.
No.
I think we're pretty manual.
Okay.
Where I work, we design stuff like this so that it makes it easier, but it's work. I mean, even with the AI, even with some of our AI apps and stuff.
Is that what you do?
Is there any other reports? Any commissioners' reports?
When is your last meeting?
Should be April 9th. You'll get rid of me.
And we will have election of a vice chair on April 9th. We'll briefly open that meeting for approval of minutes and election of the vice chair, and then we'll go into a work session. And then there have been applications received for the current vacancy. And then assuming everything, that we lose the chair to the town trustees, then we will have a second vacancy. And then there would be, in early April, some interviews and some new folks coming on board. And then the town attorney, as well as Tammy Tenoy, or with Sursa, will be here on June 11th.
Wonderful. Like how you've planned that out.
And thank you for being here tonight. It was helpful to have your input at
Yes.
times. Thank you.
We do appreciate you being with us. And we do appreciate you being with us, being sick. And
I'm sorry, I'm sick.
No.
I figured I did. I appreciate you guys putting up with my coughing and sniffling.
Oh, we definitely needed you, and it's always wonderful to have, as many commissioners as we can at our meetings, so. All right. Anything else? No? If not, has anybody got the card for Abby? I'm gonna give it to staff too to sign. All right, so with that then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second. All right, all those in favor?